In this video, we will use StencilPro instead of thermal screens to print with the Print Gocco machine. Print Gocco is not quite a silkscreening machine. It's more of a cross between press printing, rubber stamping, and silkscreen. Gocco does use thermal silkscreens. However, instead of squeegee, it pushes the ink through the mesh using its pressing action. As a result, two things must be considered: what type of ink or paint you use, and what type of surface you can print on. First, the ink. Gocco ink is oil-based and thick, plus it has a very long drying time. The thick consistency helps prevent ink from bleeding under your work during pressing, while the long drying time allows ample work time before the ink dries and clogs your screen. I won't use Gocco ink because of its unreliable availability. What I will try is standard water-based silkscreen ink in both regular and opaque varieties. I'll also try water-based and oil-based block printing ink from Speedball. Lastly, I'll give Winsor & Newton water mixable oil colors a try. Now for the surfaces I'll test: some white envelopes and fancy napkins. The envelopes are made from hard paper, whereas the napkins are made from soft, cushy paper. I anticipate no bleeding problems with the envelopes, but some with the napkins, especially with the thinner inks. Let's get started. The plastic coating used in thermal screens is harder and less flexible than the emulsion coating in StencilPro. So this may be why I'm seeing so many problems with StencilPro. Of course, this is educated observation and speculation on my part. Problem 1. Gocco screens use a clear plastic film that sits on top of the paper frame, resulting in a gap between the top of the press and the bottom of the thermal mesh. On the other hand, my frames use a center cutout that fits snugly within the frame, resulting in no gap between the top of the press and StencilPro. I believe this is why we see areas that look like ink was squeezed away, while other areas look like ink was forced under the stencil. Problem 2. The plastic film in thermal screens is rigid, whereas the emulsion in StencilPro is flexible and stretchy. This adds to the problem of ink being squeezed away in some open areas while being over-flooded in others. Problem 3. My chipboard frames did not stay attached to the Print Gocco press. Conclusion: StencilPro may simply be limited to line drawings in smaller open areas because of its stretchy nature. However, I think the other problem this experiment revealed is with the design of my chipboard frame. All the inks did okay in my opinion, so the most important thing to consider is drying time. Longer drying times, of course, give you more working time. For my next experiment, I'll increase the thickness of the frame and attach a clear sheet of film on top of the frame.